Second.
We're live. We're
Live.
You literally pressed the button right when you went live.
PG show.
PG show.
PG-13.
Well, we're live. Hello, everybody. Hope you've got your morning coffee here. We are about to get started on a lot of stuff that we've got to talk about today in the world of Palantir. Thank you, 23 people, for being here early in the morning, 11 a.m. Saturday, April 6th. A lot of defense stuff has happened over the past couple of weeks. Obviously, Titan a month ago, and Titan was insane in terms of that contract. I'm back with my guy, Adam, a.k.a. GoCarp, on Twitter. His Twitter is in the description and in the chat. Adam, we got a lot to talk about. What do you want to start off with?
First, congrats to you on your interview with Vlad. So
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Not every day you get to interview a billionaire. I don't have the net worth like Vlad, and nor do I have the brain like Vlad. But I like to think I have some information that Vlad doesn't have. I might not be as popular, so you might not get as many views. But I think I got some interesting things that he might not have covered to talk about.
Yeah, I saw under that interview when I posted it on Twitter, you said, congrats, but there's some shit that Vlad doesn't know about project blah, blah, blah. And I loved it. That was great.
Yeah. So, nope, congrats on that. Last time I was on, I think Titan was awarded already at that point. It was a couple weeks ago, if I remember correctly. As you've seen, I'm sure you all follow Grim. They're hiring specifically for Titan. That's really not a big shocker by any means. It's not much really to talk about on the Titan front. It's awarded. Gonna just have to wait and see with more of these exercises that come out throughout the year, which we'll touch up on in a few. There's going to be a lot of, for this episode at least, a lot of rabbit hole speculation. I don't know if anybody listens. I did a Spaces 2-3 days ago, and if you have not listened to that, I would strongly recommend listening to it. It is very, very important stuff. It's very big connection of the pie getting bigger and bigger and bigger and deeper, and the moat getting wider. So that's really kind of what I want to do today, is touch up on what I did on the Spaces, and then more importantly, other stuff that's come out. I would say for this one, the big update is, it's not official yet, of course. There's going to have to be plenty of politics and back and forth, but AUKUS, which is the alliance between Australia, United Kingdom, and United States, is going to be evolved. Let's go in our Pokemon style now. We're going to go from AUKUS to JAWKUS. So Japan is very, very, very close to getting into it, like, officially. So I wanted to touch up on that. And, with JAWKUS and Japan getting into it, the speed of this alliance is actually very quickly. So, little rundown on AUKUS. It was definitely conceptualized, I want to say, in 2019, 2020. It didn't become official till 2021. So it's relatively new. And we're talking about only United States, United Kingdom, and Australia. And the main reason behind the alliance was specifically for the Indo-Pacific. And
right.
It's kind of ironic that you have the United States and then you have United Kingdom, who are like nowhere really near the Indo-Pacific, and then you have Australia. So it makes sense that they wanted to expand on this. The other countries that are, quote, potentially going to join this AUKUS and eventually JAWKUS is going to be obviously Japan, that I touched upon, but South Korea is going to have a big push eventually, and Canada and New Zealand. New Zealand makes much more sense than Canada, especially because of their, geographic proximity to the region versus Canada, but it's going to come. And yes, September 2021, United Kingdom, Australia, US. So that thing was in the works for a while before they can make it official. So the reason why I wanted to start with JAWKUS is Japan and South Korea, from a commercial perspective, should not be any shocker, especially South Korea with HD Hyundai.
Correct. Yep.
I'm going to just for everyone that hasn't seen it, or if you don't follow, either square, he posted the other day, and I just had it open, of course.
I can pull it up too.
It's his, we're looking for the Mitsubishi.
Okay, let me get that up.
I forgot which it was. He tweeted it the other day. And, the Mitsubishi partnership is important for a variety of reasons. One, it's another commercial, client that we're able to penetrate. And two, it's international. So, it's good to see both of those fronts grow as a investor, international and commercial. So it's kind of hitting two stones, because obviously, as we have spoken about, as important and as much as I spend my time, and I'll be the first one to admit it, I spend way more time on the defense military side versus a guy like Ether or Arnie, who's kind of doing a little bit of mix, and they're really penetrating the commercial, getting out all those deals and talking about in depth about the companies that they're doing. The reason why Japan is so important with this Mitsubishi is with AUKUS, and we're going to start finding that Coke can in the middle of the desert now, is with AUKUS coming to fruition, is we are getting Mitsubishi as a commercial client with Foundry.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck it. I don't give a shit about that. Let's talk about motherfucking space, people. Goddamn right. We're going back to space, and Palantir is the common denominator between all of it. So with AUKUS coming to fruition, there is a lot of hurdles and criteria that Japan needs to meet in order to be accepted into this, alliance, if you will. And the United States has been the premier, obviously, in giving them suggestions and giving them influence on how they should shape their intellectual property. That's the main thing that I've been reading about, is how to protect their IP. Because obviously, when we talk about the Indo-Pacific, the main thing that we're really saying without saying is China. And China wants to steal the IP of all the greatest products and, in the world. Doesn't matter if they're in the United States, they're in Japan. If it's mining in Africa, whatever it might be, they want it. They'll do any means necessary to get it. So that's really the main thing. So with AUKUS evolving to AUKUS, everyone seems to be pretty much in agreement to doing it. There's Pillar 1, which was last year, I believe 2023 when they did it. And this year they're getting ready for Pillar 2. And Pillar 2 has to do more with more on like a Palantir side. It's cyber, it's AI, it's electronic warfare, it's information gathering, and that's obviously much more of Palantir. And Japan, their main thing is, as it relates to this, and one of the Aussie politicians, I forgot his name, I'm sure I can find it real quickly in one of the articles, he's actually very against Japan joining. And, this is going to be something that it's politics. It's nothing that me or you or anyone can really do. It's politics. And, he's against it because his big theory is this alliance, if you will, was so secretive. And the whole point is to keep all secrets as much as possible. So they're afraid if they allow another partner into this agreement, a leak may happen or anything could happen. The thing is, in any of this world, it doesn't matter whether it's in a military context or in a business context, there's a million things that can go wrong and only a few things that can go right for every mission, every order, for every project to go smoothly. And that's what his big thing is afraid of. But with the alliance of Japan coming into it, and I do want to read this real quickly from this article, is AUKUS to AUKUS. As China's provocative actions have escalated in recent years, AUKUS has begun to set its sights on more countries during a 2+2 meeting between Japan and Australia in December 2022. Australia Defense Minister Richard Marles said that AUKUS could involve Japan. In August 23, the Foreign Affairs Committee of the British House State Commons that AUKUS should invite Japan and South Korea to join. Last November, Japanese Prime Minister Taro Aso suggested that a visit during Australia that Japan should join the group, which would be named JAUKUS. And he said this would help send a unified signal on the Taiwan issue. So a lot of it is going back to Taiwan and protecting Taiwan. And for those that don't follow geopolitics very closely, the other day, and it was literally the other day, I think it was Kirby. I think it was Kirby. He basically said, we're not going to protect Taiwan from China. And it kind of threw a lot of heads. And I mean, I saw David Marrow from Palantir. He kind of tweeted like a little meme, like one of those, like, what? And, Jacob Hellberg, senior policy advisor to CARP, he was in Taiwan the day after the earthquake. For those that don't know, they have an office in Taipei, so it makes perfect sense. And I wouldn't be surprised if we hear in a day or two the official Palantir is helping with the earthquake, just like how they helped Turkey with their earthquake when they had the earthquake a couple of years ago. So that wouldn't surprise me. But,
so this JAUKUS thing, what is Palantir's role in this, do you think? I mean, maybe they don't have an official role, but as this is evolving, how do you see Palantir playing a role here?
So Palantir would be playing the operating system for all of the entire alliance. So it would be all of them using Gotham and all their products and whatnot to communicate, to see the battlefield together. So the first pillar actually had to do with nuclear submarines. And obviously Palantir is not building nuclear submarines. So they're not having anything to do with that. But they would be supplying software related to the nuclear submarine, however that might be, whether it's Gotham, if it's Meta Constellation to watch the submarine, whatever it might be, or if it's Apollo to send it updates of whatever they needed to do. So that's really where Palantir's role of AUKUS comes into place. And I did this Spaces about 2 months ago. I am of the belief, because of how embedded they are in AUKUS, that the Coles partnership that they got in Australia actually started because of their involvement of the government. And if you just go to my Twitter and you put in Banana Shire, you'll get a very good laugh and you'll understand that they actually, with AUKUS and the Australian government, they basically anybody who's willing to partner with the Australian government, and like I don't know if it was quote their federal government, but it was like their states, like New York State government and whatever. I don't know. It was like the businesses are going to be more than willing to work with you. And then a couple of days later, boom, that Coles headline comes out of Palantir, doing Coles for all of Australia. So I'm not saying they got it strictly because of that, but this stuff is going to really embed them. And the moat is so big that not only is it deepening and widening for the United States, it's going to help them in international communities, because the international communities, and specifically Japan has a policy basically of no war.
Yeah.
And that's really the problem right now. And it's a good thing. They're peaceful people. You don't want war. But the problem is they have a very nasty neighbor who's very, very aggressive, and they are behind on the ball, not including North Korea, who's constantly sending missiles over them at every other day. So the United States has been trying very, very hard for the past 20 years to get them to increase their defense spending and, get ready. So obviously they're playing catch up. And and as an American, and as you know, there is certain stuff like about, I would just say, us looking at Japan, when I've always wanted to go to Japan, and it just seems like an awesome country. It has a great culture. It looks like an awesome place. It's beautiful. It's clean. But there's stuff in Japan that they're never going to do here. And that's fine. And that's just the difference in cultures. They're never going to build weapon systems like us anymore. After World War II happened, they were just, they just accepted US is Big Daddy, and that is it. But now they build unbelievable software. So they're able to contribute in their own parts. And that's really what this AUKUS Pillar 2 is about, is, okay, they're not going to help deliver nuclear submarines and weapon systems, fine. What can they do? Okay, they're very good at making cars. Mitsubishi, they're going to help with that. They're very good at building software, especially now that we know that they're working a lot with Palantir. And if we do remember, I forgot exactly when it was, maybe it was 2 years ago, but when that article came out after they've already partnered with Sampo, and they came out and they said this is godlike software in the healthcare industry. So this is how they're going to contribute to this portion of the involvement of AUKUS to JAUKUS. Now, this prime minister in Australia might not like it, but eventually it's just going to have to happen, because ultimately, as we're seeing every day, it's getting more crazy out there, and the need for our allies to stay strong and keep constant communication and see the same thing. That's the key, because once you start throwing the disinformation at each other and you're seeing different stuff, it's hard to trust one another. And that is the main thing. We need to trust each other. And if you ever go and you see the videos of Putin and Kim Jong-un when they met, like they had a glass and like none of them drank from it. They waited. It's because there's no trust there. They're like, dude, this guy poisoned me. And they're like, dude, this guy poisoned me. And like, that's their mindset. And that's whatever. I mean, I'm all down for Game of Thrones kind of style shit. And, you know, as they say in that's a woman's weapon. But I mean, it's a good way to kill people and get it done pretty quickly and, you know, very stealthy. And there's no stopping that. So that's why it's important to have trust. So with the whole Mitsubishi partnership and Japan going from AUKUS to JAUKUS, really what I wanted to connect that to, and that was just context and backstory, is, as I said before, space.
Right.
So
how does this relate back to Mars, essentially?
The way how this relates back to Mars is, like I've said, Palantir is the common denominator between all of these things. So what is going on? Well, 2 days ago, a senior U.S. official hints that U.S. and Japan co-production of vital military tech might be on the horizon. This was 2 days ago. And I don't want to read all of it because it's basically have all the backstory that I just told you about, with just more, specific details. So just for specifics, the U.S. and Japan are committing to work on a research and design level on collaborative combat aircraft or loyal wingmen type drones. Kyosuke Matsumasoro, a Japanese defense minister, said. So they're going to help. They're going to try go with drones and more software. But this is the key thing. The wider move to strengthen defense ties follows a lengthy campaign by the U.S., particularly at an intelligence level, to convince Tokyo of the need to take on increasingly more strenuous activities that protect their intellectual property. The cornerstone of our engagement rests with the Indo-Pacific. So they're very, very big, and it's all about modernizing their deterrence. So you hear me say it all the time: detect, deter, defeat. That's on Palantir's website. So they're saying that to the defense ministers of Japan. If you're not going to defeat, that's fine. We'll do the heavy fighting, because you don't have these weapon systems and the manpower and the experience. But you got to start building your deterrences, because if they come, they come. So back to space is Mitsubishi, and this is the day after April 4th, so April 5th, so yesterday.
Yeah.
And Either has posted it. That's why I wanted to pull up that tweet. It talks about Mitsubishi from yesterday. Japan's Mitsubishi Corp is joining Starlab Space, the joint venture of Voyager Space and Airbus Defense, a space that is developing a commercial space station. Starlab announced on April 4th, so the day that article came out, that Mitsubishi has become a strategic partner of Starlab and would take an equity stake in the joint venture. A Starlab spokesperson declined to provide specific details on the agreement, including financial value and the size of the equity. Blah, 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 blah. The main little quick thing is Palantir is working with Mitsubishi. Palantir is working with Airbus. I'm pretty sure they're also working with Voyager.
Well, right here, Mitsubishi joins Starlab as strategic partner. Voyager's one of the key components here as well. Yeah, you're right.
And low Earth orbit, there you go. You see it right there. Like I've said before, you can stop doubting me if you need to, or keep speculating like myself. And the main thing is all of this stuff takes time. So they are going to be doing the software in space. They're going to be running the Edge AI in space. So Airbus, and maybe it's a piece of Skywise. I don't know exactly what it is, but it's definitely built on Palantir because it's all Palantir clients. And the other main thing that has to relate to this from a crossover between the commercial side and the defense side is the International Space Station is supposed to retire, I think, by the end of the decade. And with the way how United States relationship is with Russia, I don't think they're going to want to launch the International Space Station again with all the nations. We can do it ourselves. They're already doing it. They have the Star Lab. You have SpaceX. You have NASA. They don't need, to be involved in space exploration and research with our adversary, who's currently at war with let's call it what it is, a unofficial NATO ally at this point. All signs to Ukraine becoming accepted into NATO is not a matter of if, but when. And, so it's really a big deal that Palantir and Mitsubishi is doing this, and that it's all connected. That's like the main thing. It's all connected. It's not easy to find because it's not just, they don't say Palantir. Yeah. It's just like, hey, Airbus is working with Palantir, Voyager is working with Palantir, Airbus and Voyager are working together. Oh, now Mitsubishi is working with Palantir, and now they're joining. It's like, what's the common thing between all of them? They're all not in Japan and in Europe. It's Palantir.
And this is what Wall Street's not willing to do as well. I mean, connect these dots. It's very difficult to do this.
No, it is not. And I mean, this fine just happens to be a commercial piece with the defense piece, and it's not easy to find because, and we've still seen it. They've been a public company for 4 years. We're starting to see it turn a little bit, but a lot of companies that partner with Palantir up until recently, they haven't been very open about saying our partner Palantir.
Yeah.
This year and at the end of 23 is really when we started to see it turn a little bit. I mean, Jacob Solutions, they're very open about it. Novartis was very open about it. The CEO.
Oracle yesterday. We'll talk more about that later, but Oracle.
Oh, we got some Oracle stuff to talk about. So, but actually just to talk on that, because that's not important. I know I'm going to forget this, but for those that don't know, Larry Ellison hates Tom Siebel. C3 AI.
You're right about this. Yup. Yeah.
And there's one of my favorite business stories ever is, I believe it was back in like maybe 2000, early 2000s, late 90s. Tom was at another company. Larry was at Oracle still or whatever. And he was trying to poach Tom's employees, I believe. They were in a huge fight. And he sent an ice cream truck to his company, I'm serious, to his business, and he gave away free ice cream sandwiches, but the wrappers were all of Oracle. It was all Oracle wrapper. And he was like, come work for, and he just sent them it's a great story. It's hilarious. Petty billionaire bullshit. So, it's just like they hate each other. So the fact now, just to piggyback off of, not that I hate C3, it's just like, it should not be in the DOD. I'll just leave it at that. Is you have Raytheon C3, they lost Titan with C3. Now you have Palantir partnering with Oracle. Now, the Oracle partnership is extremely important for many ways. And when I was on here, and I remember saying, especially, I remember this, like when you were the first one that dug up, I think it was the last Q4, whatever it might have been, that they purchased that $2 billion in compute power. We were like, whoa, I wonder, maybe it was Oracle. We don't know.
Yeah, we thought it was AWS because of IL6, but maybe it was Oracle.
AWS or Azure, but I don't think we thought Oracle. Maybe it is. But the good news about Oracle is they're obviously partnering with all the hyperscalers, and they pretty much got them all. I mean, I don't think there's anyone else out there. You have AWS, you have Microsoft, you have Oracle now, you have Google. I don't think there's another one. And if there is, I'm sure it's just a matter of time, and it's probably like a very specific one in Europe or Japan, whatever it might be. But Oracle, and this is going to go back down to more of a DoD and commercial side, is, where is it? Where I think, okay. Oracle, they obviously huge in the cloud game, but on a commercial space, and specifically to healthcare, and 007 actually sent me this a few minutes before coming on here, is in 2022, Oracle bought CERN Corporation for 95, I forgot what it was, for $30 billion. So Oracle buys this company for $30 billion. And that was in 2022. So what's the importance of that? The importance of it is this company that they bought specializes in EHR, which is electronic healthcare record. That is the bread and butter. So Oracle bought this because they really wanted to penetrate into the healthcare market, and Palantir has been tearing that market apart. I wouldn't be surprised when we get the Q1 update when they tell us, okay, last quarter we were at 20% hospital beds in US. I wouldn't be surprised if we're above 30%. I wouldn't be surprised if it was closer to 40. I mean, just in the New York tri-state area, and I know you're in this area, because you understand how densely populated these are and how big these healthcare networks are, but you're doing New York City HHC, New York City Health and Hospitals, that's massive. You're doing Mount Sinai, that's massive. You're doing NYU, that's massive. You're doing Northwell, that's all of the Northeast. So, I mean, come on. I mean, that number is going to be a little bit more. I imagine it's going to be near 30%. So now that they're going in with Oracle with this partnership, they're able to go. I want to read this one sentence from this: big tech making waves in healthcare IT. The deal is proof that health IT is a very changed industry from what has long been. It was traditionally the showcase domain for EHR vendors, electronic healthcare records, up until the likes of Microsoft, Amazon, Oracle made their moves. The industry will never be the same. So now that they're able to go in, and they're going to be able to go and they're able to go in and make electronic healthcare record is ginormous. So what this means is everyone in the United States of America, from you to your mother to everyone in Nebraska, they have an EHR. They have an electronic health record. It's your record.
Right.
Your date of birth, any of your surgeries. Palantir is going to be digitizing and modernizing that all now in their partnership with Oracle.
So you think the Oracle partnership is more to do not just with cloud and AI data infrastructure on Oracle's distributed cloud, but more so because Oracle is really trying to penetrate healthcare. I mean, they have 400,000 clients, so they need new ways to grow. And if healthcare is an untapped opportunity for them, that's where Palantir really stands out.
Correct. So they bought Cerner Corp for $28 billion. And I think that own partnership alone, I think that got them into like 2,500, I think like 2,700 hospitals off the bat, like without a blink of an eye. So it's a really, really big deal that they are getting in and able to do this. And now that they have Palantir with them, they're able to go and they're able to do it quicker. They have the experience and the knowledge of what to do because they're the ones who have done it these past few years. So it makes it so much easier for Oracle now to come in. They're able to go to these 2,500 hospitals that they're working with, and they're able to say, can I bring you to an AIP boot camp?
Yeah.
I'll pay for it. And then
Dude, but that's hyperscale. If they have 2,500 hospitals and then Palantir has access to distribution to those hospitals, even if we get 3 or 4% of them over the next 2 years, that's hundreds of new customers coming in the healthcare space.
And like we've said before, the two biggest markets on this planet are the military and healthcare.
Yeah.
I like the health. I think they said in this article alone, and this was 2022, that U.S. healthcare alone was $4 trillion market.
Yep.
So that's 2022. Let's now call it an even $4 trillion in 2024. So it's a huge market. There's so much more for them to take. And with Palantir being able to build and create these electronic healthcare records for their partners, Oracle and whomever, it's so much data, and it's data that gets created every day. Think about it right now. Unfortunately, there's somebody in, Texas that's going to the hospital right now because they had a heart attack or they need a blood transfusion. And that's more data that's being made, and it's never ending. Oh, we brought the patient Advil at 7 p.m. Got to put that in the computer. Every day, more data gets created. So the system is going to get better and smarter and more efficient, and Oracle is going to be able to move quicker at speed, and patients are going to be able to get better healthcare from the actual doctors and nurses. But that's really the big thing for me that I thought on Oracle from a commercial side. There's obviously a defense and military side to this as well. And if you go back and you read the partnership, it was very defense and government related. They didn't really talk about commercial. And
talking about Western values in the partnership. I was like, that's interesting. Did not expect that.
Correct. And the reason I wanted to talk about the healthcare piece first, it's very important and it's very big. And I'm sure that they're not sitting there saying, yeah, we're only going to work on defense with you. They're probably saying, Larry, let me show you what I could do with your health records real quickly. And you're going to see that expand. But Oracle has a partnership with the DoD as it relates to the Joint Warfighting Cloud capability. So, and if you Google Oracle JWCC, you'll get brought to Oracle's website, and all the big words are in there, JADC2. But the interesting part is Oracle only has up to IL5. So Palantir actually has IL6. So think about and they actually say DISA on this. I think there might have been another Oracle article. Trying to pull it up real quickly.
Yeah, I'm trying to get it too.
So, this is why Oracle for the JWCC, and if I remember correctly, the Joint Warfighting Cloud capability, this was originally JEDI, if you remember.
Yeah.
So, and JEDI, for those that don't remember, it basically was a $10 billion cloud compute contract that the DoD gave Microsoft. And it was supposed to be between Microsoft and Amazon. Microsoft won it, and Amazon threw this huge bitch fit. And they basically said, all right, we won't do it. We'll split it up.
Yep.
And what I thought was interesting about that is it kind of goes back to now they're a very big like MOSA approach. It's like, we won't do anything unless it has the MOSA capability, which is modular open system architecture. So with the JEDI, now that, okay, I'm assuming because they're still fighting over it, but now that they basically just said, all right, you're going to do a little bit of this. So all these main hyperscalers are on it. So with Oracle doing Joint Warfighting Cloud capability, Palantir is going to be able to go and obviously help Oracle and their missions when they have to get to IL6 information, because they have that capability. Them, Amazon, and Microsoft are the only ones. And if you recall, a lot of these cloud computing software architectures that the DoD is putting out for proposals and information on is you have to be able to cross different classification levels. And obviously that's very hard for these companies because you need to have the technology and the software to even communicate. But some of them don't have IL6. So they're not, if you're only capable to IL4 and you're not working with Palantir, you're screwed. You can't. So that's why this thing on a defensive side, it's extremely big. So here's the main reason with Oracle being partnered with them is Oracle has a long history of protecting the DoD's most sensitive data, and our security-first approach extends to our cloud. Oracle Cloud is engineered with unique cybersecurity architecture that brings new levels of tenant isolation and significantly reduces attack vectors to serve as a foundation for zero trust applications and operations. The security-first design principles of Oracle Cloud, along with strong set of security capabilities, can help DoD implement a zero-trust security architecture. With Oracle, security is on by default. For example, user access is denied unless explicitly granted, and object storage buckets are private unless explicitly changed to public. Oracle's bare metal design and flat network structure increases security while also accelerating performance. The entire visualized network is segregated from compute and storage, making the control plane inaccessible for better security from threat actors, both internal and external to the networks. Oracle Cloud also has unique security features that allow for the compartmentalization of a tenancy for need-to-know access and maximum security zones that make it less likely a developer will expose a cloud tenacity to cyber vulnerabilities through human error. So it's extremely, extremely secure. And if you saw, I did post the other day, it wasn't the DoD, it was some Senate committee. They had an overview of Microsoft's, cybersecurity over their big hack in 23 of the summer. And they explicitly said they failed, and that they failed at every level, that they knew it was going on. They didn't approach the situation correctly. And it was an utter total catastrophe from a quote unquote cybersecurity standpoint. And I've said it before, when you're making hand over fist like Microsoft, you don't really care about putting so much money into cybersecurity because all of your clients, they're not going anywhere. So, but the government, that's nothing you can play around with. So obviously they're not going to be able to go away with Microsoft, but maybe that was also part of their reasoning and why they said, you know what, you don't deserve this $10 billion contract anyway. Right. So that's really, it's really a big thing. So that's why the press release, if you will, was all about defense and national security, is because it's all going to be connected to the warfighter. And the first thing in the, just when you get to this website in this exact thing, the first thing they talk about with the JWCC is JADC2. It's the first thing.
Right. Let's move on to this and let's get people to kind of get some clarity on this. We tried to clear up some of the stuff on Palantir Weekly yesterday, but I'm sure you would understand a little bit more. U.S. Army and DIU select Palantir to participate on the Ground Vehicle Autonomous Pathways project. Anduril is also included in this to an extent in terms of them being a software integrator. Is this kind of like Titan? Any updates on what do you think this deal is about?
So that's a really good question. And I've been on here saying it many times, a contract can come at any minute.
Yep.
And now that the defense budget has been passed, we're kind of starting to see it. They got the prototype, they got Titan, and now this is coming out. I think summer is going to be very, very good. And this was on the spaces that I said I did a couple days ago. So that's why I strongly recommend everybody listen to it. So this is it is very similar to Titan. It's going to be more. The first thing that I just want to talk about as this before I say anything is I was on record saying it was competition between Palantir and Anduril. But the more that I'm seeing and people looking into it, it may actually be another partnership like a Titan between Palantir and Anduril, because this project, it started, and if you do scroll up, they started this 2 years ago with 110 vendors. 110 were competing on different portions, and they wound up with these 8 or 12, whatever it was, the final amount was. So it will tell you, like, it's like, let's see, it first started December 6, 2022. Yeah, 110 responses. So out of the 110, they wound up with whatever they picked with. And we know and we recognize some of those names. So it is a little bit like Titan because it is going to be connected to, obviously, it's software based. It's not hardware based. It's going to have, obviously, it's going to obviously have to do with embodying sensors and getting all that back. I did say on this basis, and this specifically, this torque, the traceability, observability, replaceability, and automated consumption. That's something that I have to look a little bit more into along with the fellowship team and get a little bit more information about to see what is, quote unquote, the difference between this versus Titan. But it is very software based. But the main thing that this really is about is they're getting these contracts, and notice that it's, quote, no competition potentially. Yeah. After doing more reading, it looks like it's no competition. And a lot of the stuff that we're seeing on these proposals that I put out is they're putting in no competition because they have already built Maven and they're not willing to give Maven out to anybody else for obvious reasons. So the main thing as it relates to this ground robot vehicle, and this is why I really talked about us finding the Coke can in the middle of the desert with our rabbit hole finding, is when I came on here last time, I really spoke about with you the CPI-2, which was the Command Post Integrated Infrastructure, which, if you recall, that is really tied to the IC2 and the Brave Partner exercise that Mara posted that we watched together. And that's really what the future command post for the warfighter is going to be like. They're not going to have all these images cluttered around. They're not going to have these desks. And that's why you should listen to the spaces, because I don't know if you read the article, but the article Greg Little wrote with the other, they're all Army guys, military guys, published on the First Breakfast. Yep. It was very much about that. But the key thing about it is, and this is the rabbit hole, the ground vehicle that they're working on, Palantir, in conjunction with the Israeli Ministry of Defense, have a partnership, which we know. I said, and with big speculation months ago, that when they are there, they are going to be working and deepening ties with Elbit. And for everyone who told me I was out of my mind about all the other crap that I was right on, and I'm not trying to stroke my ego, just trying to prove my point, headsets, Titan, etc., is they came back and they updated that the white paper of the mixed reality headset, and there you go. You have the night vision product that Elbit designed on the mixed reality application. But more importantly, when I was doing the spaces, 007, when he was doing research, this is what we do, Elbit of Elbit Systems of America, they're working on vehicles for CPI-2, and it was on LinkedIn. So, and that's where Palantir will come in and help with, they'll help with the software portion. But the reason why I'm bringing up Elbit is they created 2 years ago, and it's been used in the tunnels against Hamas, robot ground vehicles, exactly for what this proposal is for. They have been sending into the tunnels different robot ground vehicles to perform different actions. Some of them have been used just to find them and locate them. Others have been used to take them out. And they're strapped with payloads and machine guns, and they will fire and they will kill, targets, if you will. So my big theory is the reason why Palantir got this is they've been working with Elbit for X amount of time, and they actually learned from Elbit their robot ground vehicle, and they built whatever they built, and that's why they won this, is they built it 2 years ago. And if Palantir didn't personally build it, they probably learned, all right, we need to put the nuts and bolts here, and we'll fill out the rest. And that came from, Israelis, their engineers, the IDF, their Elbit people, right? And that they've had experience. And I would recommend everybody listen to my spaces, watch the YouTube video of Elbit's robot ground vehicle. It is incredible. I posted their headset also because, like the Red 6 partnership, it's really big, this mixed reality and this autonomous pie. And Palantir is coming for it. And that's why It's really cool. I recommend you watch it. So it'll be interesting to see how this comes about. The Defensive Innovation Unit, it's very, very important. Titan came from, my favorite office, which is Intelligence, Electronic Warfare, and Sensors. The Defensive Innovation Unit obviously has very, very cool projects that they are working on, just like the DISA. They have very cool projects that they are working on. As I've said many times, it's very disjointed but jointed, and now you're starting to really see it come together, and that common denominator building the data fabric, I said it, is Palantir. So it's going to be big. The robot ground vehicle, I like to get more information on it. We don't really have a lot, but that leads us to Thunderstorm. So Thunderstorm, and this came out on Friday, is a sort of like a project convergence that and I hear of when they go and they do these exercises with all these different countries. Sometimes it's just U.S. forces, but they are doing they're doing this thing called Thunderstorm, and they're seeking applications for it. And I'm going to read what it is real quickly, and you can tell me right off the bat if you think Palantir is going to be a part of this. Thunderstorm is a invitation-only field technology showcase taking place in an operationally relevant environment with a collaborative atmosphere which government and users discover innovative technology through hands-on engagement. The DoD and U.S. interagency partners use Thunderstorm to discover new technologies, enhance collaboration, and provide developers with immediate feedback to accelerate maturation and innovative capabilities. Thunderstorm 24/3 focuses on innovative solutions for robotic partners and human-machine interfaces. Robotics and human-machine interfaces are critical to the DoD operations because they enhance the warfighting capabilities in challenging environments and across multiple mission spaces. Robotic solutions potentially migrate risks to humans, while human-machine interfaces capabilities enable warfighters to integrate autonomous or semi-autonomous technologies to increase mission effectiveness while reducing operator workload across all domains. Now, Palantir's main mission is for the symbiotic relationship between man and human. And now we just worked on a robot vehicle that will be powered by a man using software, but will not be in it, and that is a robot. I wonder if Palantir is going to be participating in this.
No, it's stuff that you find like that makes it. It's the writing on the wall, right? Especially this human symbiotic relationship. And this is what Sham has been talking about for a while. I mean, he's done a couple of podcasts over the past couple of weeks as well, speaking about the relationship between humans and computers. And he showed Gotham the other day, and they erased 5 million lines of code and what their original thinking was early in the 2004, 2005 time when they were making this stuff. It seems like there's not a lot of, well, here's a question. Do you think there's a lot of other companies out there that are working on this particular philosophy embedded in technology, which is the symbiotic relationship between man and computers? Because that seems to be where the world is going.
100%. The cat is out of the bag. It's not like it's a big secret at this point that machine and man together is the secret. I mean, eventually the machine could be on its own, but in Palantir's story and philosophy, and maybe this isn't with other companies, is the human will always be in the loop. Right. The human will always be the decision maker. So I also just want to say this, and this is very, very important, and I'm glad you brought this up. The stuff that's coming out about Lavender, and I'm not sure if you saw that, but there is a very big media press release about this Israeli software called Lavender, which is an AI targeting system. It is not Palantir. So anyone who says it is Palantir or is claiming it to be Palantir, it is not Palantir. Palantir did not design Lavender. They have nothing to do with Lavender. They are not the ones operating Lavender. It has nothing to do with Palantir. AI Lavender, whatever you want to call it, it is 100% Israeli, and they are using it how they feel it is necessary. It is not Gotham. Gotham would operate completely different, and I am just going to leave it at that. So if you see anything related to Palantir and this thing called Lavender, if you haven't seen it yet, it is not Palantir. I saw it the day we saw it a couple days before, like it all really started coming out on Twitter and on the internet. And we did a bunch of research, and it isn't Palantir. So I just wanted to put that out there. So the symbiotic relationship between man and machine has always been Palantir's philosophy. It has always been about augmenting and enhancing and streamlining our capabilities using the best products, whether it's robotics or software.
And we saw this back in Stellantis when Palantir didn't replace 1,500 employees. They just saved 1,500 employees' jobs. They're not saved, but like enhanced their operations. And the goal, Karp said about 2 years ago, is that we are not trying to get rid of human beings. Because again, Karp's more progressive than he is conservative. He actually believes in, not just caring about money, but caring about human life as well. And so it seems like that's their philosophy going forward. And that's what you kind of need from a government perspective, because governments don't want people to lose jobs.
That's definitely a big thing about artificial intelligence, and the big thing behind having it regulated safely is the quote unquote bosses aren't going to be like, oh crap, I got this unbelievable technology, I can cut my workforce in half. Oh, that's great. I mean, as long as if you want to cut my job and I don't have to come into work, as long as I can still do whatever the hell I want to do, that's fine, great. But the reality is that's not going to happen. So that's going to be a tough thing, especially in today's environment with social media and disinformation, specifically about AI and people's inability to actually research. That goes from everyone. So, I mean, that's something me and you will be watching this fight for the next 30, 40 years. And, I think ultimately government's going to just get steamrolled by the corporate world because they're already putting it in. And they're seeing from, on a healthcare side, they're not firing people at all. They're actually hiring people because the software is able to do so much work for them in the background that they're able to do and take care of more patients. So they're able to hire more staff so that more patients get cared for. Yep. So, I'll say this, and this is just me speaking from just a human and from a somewhat of an investor. I don't invest in Tesla or anything or whatnot, but I mean, if Tesla does fully get full self-driving and you don't need any more truckers, I don't think you understand the economic fallout if you just eliminate 10 million jobs. And not to get really political or what, it's not. If you fire 10 million average middle-aged 18 to 50-year-old men who don't have a college degree because they were just driving a truck, and there's nothing wrong with that. UPS drivers make a shit now, but now they're driving robotic Teslas. We're big fucked in this country.
Yeah.
So you can't.
People underestimate how much a job brings. People underestimate how much a job brings structure and sanity and order to the chaos that is existence. You could argue religion does the same, right? When people aren't as religious, they tend to be a little bit more off the rockers. And so if you just get rid of that many people having a job, it's not going to be easy to have society function normally.
Correct. I mean, look, there's days where I enjoy my job as much as I can, and there's days where I absolutely despise my job. And, it is what it is. There's good days, there's bad days. Unfortunately, there is not a clone of me or an AI robot of me that can go in and do my job for me, and I can go and get drunk on a beach all day. If I could, trust me, I'd be doing that. But, I can't. So it's important because, it, like you said, it keeps you out of trouble. It builds, it progresses. And a lot of people, especially, the younger generation, they don't think if it happened in their lifetime, nothing happened. And that's complete bullshit. Like, there is a lot of stuff that people take for granted and they don't understand. We've spoke about it many times before. And there has been a lot of progress in this country, and artificial intelligence to the workplace is the next quote unquote big revolution. And there might be some people who lose their jobs. That might ultimately happen. And you know what? That's okay. Because if the majority comes out on top, that's what it's all about, doing best for the majority of, the state, the country, the world. I mean, it's going to suck for those people, but it also going to depend, what job is it? The first thing that comes to my mind is if you're a fast food employee in California and, McDonald's is going to make you have this $20 an hour, bye-bye, they're just going to go to robots. So, I mean, they're going to be, stuff. They're going to be screwed. They're going to be the ones in a tough place. I don't know what they'll do. And it's fine if you don't have a college education. I think college is a complete scam for 95% of the stuff that, I went to college. Did I need to do it? Did I need to go for what I do now? Absolutely not. But, some professions, it's absolutely needed. And it's just interesting to see how it's all going to play out, this relationship between man and machine. But if Palantir and other companies like Palantir adopt their philosophy in human in the loop, human in the decision maker, human everything, then I think everyone will be at a net positive because it's not being replaced by robot and machine. You're overseeing the machine. And you'll be able to do multiple things. And you might not have to do stupid, tedious tasks like watching Chad do his demo the other day of like finding RFI proposals with all those PDFs and whatnot and invoices. Like in 2024, I personally think it's absolutely ridiculous that you're going to pay somebody, even if it's 50 grand a year, to just send invoices. Like, how is there not a software solution, and there is, to just have that automated, and then you can have a team of people oversee the progress, and they'll be able to look at it, and they'll obviously be limited. Maybe certain people should only be looking at jobs of $100,000 plus. Others should be $1 million, whatever it might be, and they'll be able to say, "Oh, this invoice is still outdated. Go call whatever you need to do," instead of actually paying a group of people, collectively $1 million, and they're moving at a pace of a human, which is fine because we're only human, and they make errors because they're human. So it's gonna come, and it's not gonna replace. It's gonna benefit everybody. And the one little thing that I just did want to just talk about more to defense with just how these partnerships are starting to come about is a lot of the stuff was planted in 2022 and 2023. And the last big one that I wanted to touch up on is, and I'm not sure if you remember, but Palantir had a partnership with Guidehouse. I don't know if that rings a bell.
Guidehouse it's a defense consulting firm, right?
That is correct.
There we go, baby. All right. So tell me, what new stuff did you find up on this one?
So just a little background on it, because I'll be the first one to admit I completely forgot about this partnership because we didn't hear about it. Literally, other than I don't think I've ever heard about it till what I'm about to tell you. And I think everyone is gonna have their jaw drop. The Coke can's been found. I only really drink Coke with Chinese food, so my friend, you can have it today.
Dude, as soon as you said Chinese food, I just got a craving for it. And now for lunch, I'm going to have to do it, dude. I just like, it's Saturday. You said it. I'm like, all right, Chinese food. That's what we're doing for lunch today. And we're doing it. That's it.
I don't blame you. So Guidehouse, just as a little background, this is from 2022 at the end of June. Guidehouse, a leading global provider of consulting services to public sector and commercial clients, is pleased to announce strategic alliance with Palantir Technologies, a leading builder of operating systems for the modern enterprise. The partnership will combine Guidehouse's next generation consulting services, so Bear Cave, that's your consulting company, with Palantir's cutting edge Foundry software platform to help clients outwit complexity. So there you go. You have this partnership right here, and you have the consulting side, not Palantir, and you have the software side, Palantir. So, good to know. Nothing of a, major, nothing stands out, just like any other, partnership that they announced, nothing crazy in there. However, at the end of February this year, at February 29th, so this is my favorite leap year of all time because there's something good that happened on February 29th. And everybody get ready. Guidehouse wins a $12 billion Air Force ICBM systems integration recompete contract. That is correct. They won a $12 billion contract. Guidehouse has won a $12 billion follow-on contract from the U.S. Air Force to provide systems engineering and integration support services for intercontinental ballistic missiles. The Air Force Nuclear Weapons Center at Hill Air Force Base in Utah received 5 other offers for the integration support contract, a process that expects the contract to run all the way through August 27th, 2042. So the McLean, Virginia-based consulting company will serve as the systems integrator and provide professional services for the ICBM weapon systems program. Now, what the fuck does Guidehouse know about ICBM weapon systems program?
Yeah, because Guidehouse, they don't do tech. They're just a consulting firm at the end of the day. So
that is correct. They definitely have experience in the defense and military, but why can't you go to a more traditional, defense contractor or defense prime? Well, the reasoning is it's software systems integration. And Palantir, software systems integrator for the little robot vehicle with Anduril, Titan with Anduril. So I'm going to assume they use Palantir for this as well. And if you give me a couple seconds, I am going to...
This makes a lot of sense. If Guidehouse is working with Palantir since 2022, we haven't heard about them for a while. Guidehouse gets a $12 billion software integrations contract. Guidehouse isn't doing the integration, or at least not all of it. It has to be with someone else.
Correct. So, that's why it's such a big deal that these partnerships come about. Is we don't really know the truth and I'll call it depth of what is they're thinking in the short term. Obviously, we kind of have an idea in the long term. We're going to make a bunch of money and we're going to do great and we're going to crush our competition. But we don't know what and how they're working on. So that's why these big partnerships with these consulting firms, maybe in the beginning we were like, okay, great, but what is this going to do? Yeah. And it didn't really pay off, and it really didn't pay off dividends immediately. But now this is only a month old, and this is something that's going to be going on until 2042. So, Palantir, and I'm going to assume they're using Gotham and or other, products so that they're building off of it to help with this. And if you go to Guidehouse and you go to 2021, of course, this stupid little thing is popping up.
This is a really interesting deal.
That's why I thought it'd be good to end on this. So, from 2021, the United States Air Force transitioned from the Minuteman III ICBM to the new ground-based strategic deterrent will be one of the most important weapon systems deployment ever. Guidehouse Chief Operating Officer Charles Beard, Defense Growth Leader Ryan, blah, 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 blah. Okay. Oh, sorry. I had it exactly. 007 or whomever, if you're listening, who the fuck wrote the ICBM, the original one? Because I know Palantir works with them.
You're talking about the firm that got the original?
No, the Minuteman ICBM. Who? Give me a second. I know it's Air Force.
The other thing that's interesting about this is that this is not Accenture or Deloitte or something like this. This is a defense-focused consulting firm. So you would imagine they're going to pick up some hefty defense contracts, and even if they split 10% of that with Palantir.
Right. Okay. Exactly. You would think it would be more coming just because those were more well known. It's nothing against Guidehouse. I just never really knew who they were till the partnership came out. But the Minuteman rocket, I believe it was Boeing. I could be wrong on that based on my quick little search. So, they're not working with Boeing on a commercial side. Obviously, they do work together. If I'm not mistaken, 65% of Skywise, Boeing goes through Skywise, but there is a whole defensive side. And now that, and Boeing obviously is going through a ton of change, obviously, is with Boeing, ICBM, Guidehouse providing the consulting services. It is part of the nuclear task force, which Palantir has the national nuclear contract for. It's all falling into place. So, and this is from September 7th, 2021. You know, the Minuteman missile was created in 1965. It had a 10-year lifespan, and they've created 400, and there's already 400 of them now that they're modernizing them into this new. The Air Force operational tempo is so effectively to replace one missile per week for 9 years without sacrificing sortie alert status, blah, 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 consult management of Guidehouse. That's an incredible, complex endeavor, arguably one of the most complex and weapon systems rollouts and deployments ever planned. So that comes out in 21. A few months later, they announced their partnership with Palantir. And then 2 years later, they get the, 15-year, $12 billion contract for the systems integrator, because they have to now deploy and upgrade one new ICBM missile a week for the next 9 years. That was for 2030, but then there's obviously more stuff going off of it. So that's why I say any of these big contracts, they can come at any given moment. And if it's not coming directly to Palantir, you're starting to see how connected it is, and that, all right, they're not going to get 12 billion straight from Uncle Sam for this. They'll get maybe, 10 million a quarter once this starts get going. Like, we don't know. We don't know their payment terms. We have no idea. So it's just very interesting to see how it's starting to really grow, and all the companies get connected, and it's so much of a common denominator of Palantir, and starting with Mitsubishi, Airbus, Voyager, like what we started with, and now with this Guidehouse $12 billion, deal, it is, it's really all systems go. And it's why I thought it was really nice and interesting to see when Chad, he said how bullish he was. We don't know stuff that he knows, and I think we know stuff that he doesn't know, because he's so busy growing the business. He's not looking at what the other side of the business is doing. So, it's crazy to see. And Q1 earnings, I think, are going to be absolutely phenomenal. So I can't wait to, get that going. So it's rabbit hole, finding it. It's Maven going to keep on going. It's great. And just the last thing I guess I'll touch on, and not related to Guidehouse, but just more on Palantir and the system. And this is why I really do encourage everyone to listen to my spaces, is first breakfast article that Greg Little and the military guys posted is, and in the JADC2 article that I also posted with it and talked about, is they explicitly said that JADC2 capability is ready and proven. And more importantly, it's been proven not by, I want to say, a little, airborne corps or a little, Marines, whatever it might be, but CENTCOM is using it. And with the Houthis and ISIS and all the attacks that are going on in the Red Sea, if you don't follow CENTCOM on Twitter, I recommend you do. They're very, very busy in the past few months. They're tweeting out every day about all these attacks that the Houthis are, putting out to ships at the Red Sea. And they're shooting down all these drones. And they are using Palantir. That is the big thing. And they didn't even hide it. In the first breakfast article, the first sentence basically says, "Fuck you, we're coming for PowerPoint and Microsoft." Then the second sentence says, "We're developing the best OODA loop in the world." Yep, you heard it from me first. And then the next sentence basically says, "Oh, by the way, CENTCOM is using it." So if CENTCOM is using it, everyone is going to start using it. And they are using it arguably in the most hostile, dangerous environment in the world. And if you've noticed, and if you've been following it, only 2 ships have been hit in the Red Sea since all this started, since October 7th. I think 2, maybe 3. One was, I believe it or not, a ship of grain, of food that was going to Gaza. They destroyed their own fucking food that they were getting. And then one was a British ship that got hit. And then a third might have been an oil tanker, or maybe that was the British ship. And I was waiting for the protest. Where's the there's oil leaking into the Gulf of Aden and the Red Sea. So if you think about it, only 3 ships in all of this time have gotten hit, and they've been getting hit with swarms of drones and rockets, they've said. So it's really good. So maybe 1 in 500 are getting through. Maybe tomorrow, 1 in 750 will get through. So Maven is in full-fledged, work right now, between CENTCOM using it every day and these guide experiments that are coming up. Like, it's coming. I think at the end of this year in 25, it is our year. It's here, because they said, Kathleen Hicks, Deputy Secretary, she said it is viable capability and it is ready. So I would hate to be an adversary of ours right now.
Let me get your final thoughts on this thing. Arnie posted an article last week saying Germany wants Palantir back. It's obviously still speculation. We don't know if Germany's going to want Palantir back. Karp sounds prophetic at this point, because he said in the Q4 earnings call, Germany is going to call us one day. Do you think Germany will eventually want Gotham in its full-fledged in the next couple
It's happening. It's done deal. It's going to happen.
Why? Why do you think so?
I actually posted this app. I posted about this after the Moscow terror attack. Palantir and specifically Gotham in Germany, they were going through I'll call it a case study experiment, whatever you want to call it. Because obviously there's been a lot of pushback of the use of Palantir in Germany for the police.
Yep.
And the woman who was overseeing this case study and experiment basically said, after the Moscow terror attack, she came out publicly and said, "We've done enough of this case study. It is exactly what we need. We don't have time to develop our own tool. We need it now." And the reason why it's so important, and I think it's going to happen, and it probably already is happening, is ISIS-K has claimed responsibility of that terror attack in Moscow. The biggest foothold of ISIS-K in Europe is in Germany. So Karp is playing fucking 4D chess with these people. He's already 10 steps ahead of them. He knows that it's a hotbed for terrorists, so that they need this software. That's why the tide is starting to turn, because ISIS-K, they hit Moscow, they're in Germany, they need to get ready, they need to find people, they need to extract them, and they need to get them out of the public for the public safety. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see more German news that's positive in the coming days or weeks about it.
Do you think they would be do you think they would not be stubborn enough to go back to Karp? Like, do you think they would actually swallow their pride, essentially?
They will come hand and fist on their knees. So the lady who's overseeing this thing said, "We do not have a choice. If you want to die, we can keep what we have. If you want a chance to survive, we can adopt what we need. And if you lay that out to the average person, you may die versus you will die. I think you're going to take the chance of fighting." So it's going to happen. It's going to happen sooner rather than later. If it happens by the end of next week, check my Twitter. I tweeted about it when it happened. It came out. It's pretty recent. I think France is more likely to give us more problems, just because they are the French, and that's just how they are. I mean, Germany, the lady clearly said, "Oh shit, we need to implement this ASAP," because Karp has said, your 10 hours versus our 10 hours, your vendor versus just us. Like, you don't have the time. And the big thing is, they will provide the solution today so you can build the, quote, perfect solution for tomorrow.
Right.
But if you're dead, it doesn't do you any good. Or if you're lying in a hospital because you've been blown up and now you can't walk and you got to, that's what it's all about. And, people take their freedoms for granted. They don't understand that there are bad people in this world that want to do damage. They want to do it for various reasons. Some might be good intentions in their mind. Some might be bad intentions in my mind. Some might be bad intentions and they just don't care because they think it's good. So it's a scary world out there. They'll keep building it. And, like we saw Lithuania with the $38 million, or Lithuania or Estonia, whatever it was, the $37 million deal. That was with the Baltic. So you're going to see that. You're going to see them start popping up in Poland. Poland is starting to get really scared. They're starting to militarize their border with Russia.
This is what I think. I think this network effect in the context of NATO is going to be massive, dude. I think you can buy Palantir just off the idea that the government business is going to win, even though we focus on commercial a lot, but that's why you're so focused on government, because to you, and you've even convinced me greater over the past few months, this government business is not slowing down. If anything, it's going to get much bigger than we think.
I'm a big, and I'm still waiting for the fucking fiscal year 25 budget to come. I still unfortunately think that it's probably going to be plateaued. We're not going to see a big jump in increase in AI spend. Like we went from whatever it was, 1.4 or 1.8 to like there between the election, the budget being passed late. It's just very easy for them to say, just do the same amount. We need more tanks. We need more ammo because they got to just replenish this stuff. So that I can sort of see. That's why I think come 25, it's going to really start to turn, because they're going to have not 1 year, but they're going to have 2-3 years of proven battle experience in Europe with Ukraine, Israel, and now that they're going to have this Indo-Pacific with AUKUS coming through and everything. And they do a lot of work in Africa. They've been in a lot of different battle-tested environments. So if you're a country that's never really known Palantir or have had experience with them, you'll feel more comfortable because you know what? They understand our enemy, our geography, what we need, what we've gone through, because they're just so well versed in, fighting for freedom. That's really what it is.
Right. I agree. It's going to be really, really exciting to see this whole thing play out. Thank you, Adam, for coming on again and shedding these gems. Guidehouse, absolute gem. I don't think any of us thought of that. I barely remembered what Guidehouse was, but the fact that you saw they got this $12 billion contract, that's a big deal. It's a big deal.
I have some help. Big shout out to DV and 007. They definitely pull their own weight and help me with this stuff. Especially recently, I've been super busy with work. My busy season's crazy. So, it's good. We've been doing well. There's going to be a lot more info to come out. Appreciate everybody following and tuning in, especially on a Saturday.
If this is our last one before earnings, which it probably will be, and then we'll hook up again after earnings, what do you think price target is after Q1?
Ooh, that's a toughie.
I'll go on the record right now. I think Q1's going to be good. I don't think it's going to be NVIDIA numbers. So I think we get back to 25, maybe 26 after Q1. Maybe that's not bullish enough, but I think 25, 26 is reasonable. Given we're at 22, that wouldn't be too bad right now. What do you think happens after Q1?
Well, I'd like to see what price we are the day going into the earnings, of course. Yes. Look, last earnings, the day of the earnings, we popped 30%. That one day was a 30% move. So Palantir, it's extremely volatile on earnings, good or bad. It's obviously been more positive recently. So I expect it to be much more positive. If we went into earnings tomorrow or Monday at this price, I would not be surprised if we went all the way back to 26, 27 just on this day. And then the next day, we usually go like another 10% the next day, and then it climbs, and then we consolidate. The key thing is with this earnings is they said the government was kind of be a little, plateau, but the commercial, I think, is really going to pick up the piece, if you will. And I think Q2 is the government's going to really come back big, because I don't know if Titan gets technically any money in Q1 or build in Q1. I don't know if this $10 million contract, does that get paid that day? And there you go. You don't get paid anymore. There's your 10 mil. We'll see you in a year. So it will be really interesting. I think the numbers are going to be really, really good. We don't control the stock, obviously. It can go up, it can go down. The main thing I just want to see is continuous, client growth. And I really like to see the top 20 clients, $54 million turned to 58 million or whatever it goes. So I have very, very little to be looking out for. I mean, I'm very confident in Palantir long term. We're gonna do well, whether it's this month, next month, and we'll take it. We'll roll with it. It's a long journey still, but I think we're gonna be pleasantly surprised with the commercial side. And it might not be, like you said, NVIDIA numbers, and that's fine. I'm not expecting that at this point yet. I'm expecting it maybe end of the year, maybe 25, and with the S&P inclusion and potential other contracts that come out, there's no way, like we said, I think 30 is looking very probable at this point, like we've said before.
I think so too. I think it's very probable as well. All right. Thank you, everybody. This was a good one. Adam's Twitter in the description. Make sure you follow him, and we'll see you guys probably post Q1. So early May, we'll be back here again.
Thank you. Enjoy your Saturday, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Have a good Saturday. Bye-bye.